Here's a hypothetical. Imagine in a Catholic parish a newcomer who is openly not living a life that comports with what the Catholic teaches, wants 100% participation in the parish. And you can choose whatever moral irregularity you want. The person is living a lifestyle incompatible with church teachings. The person is divorced and remarried without an annulment. The person earns a living in a socially destructive manner. He's a drug dealer, but thinks it would be good to be part of the parish. Maybe they're here because the parish is a place of sanity in a life that is otherwise out of control. Maybe it's just a place of safety, or it's a place of respite from being lonely, but none of the other church trappings are of any import. Whatever. The hypothetical asks what to do with this person who shows up and wants to do more than simply attend Mass. Maybe the person wants to be a lector, sing in the choir, or help out in the religious education program. We want to say welcome aboard, but three questions emerge. One, how do we welcome the newcomer but also invite him to move to a place where the beliefs of the church change how he now lives? Two, are we being manipulative when we are saying welcome but are silently thinking that given enough time to work on this guy, being a member of the community will bring about a change in the person's conduct? Is that okay? And three, while we welcome the newcomer sinner, what do we do with the reaction of others in the parish who say, hey, this guy needs to get his life together before he can be one of us? Well, stay tuned as we unscramble this mess. This video is the second that deals with one strategy of evangelization that some refer to as radical hospitality. This is an idea that in response to Jesus' great commission to baptize all nations, the posture of the church is necessarily one of openness to the world, a world that is populated with imperfect people. And we can most assuredly include ourselves in that universe of the imperfect. So we welcome people, invite them to the church, but they bring their baggage with them. So what do we do with those folks? And the question is as old as the Gospels. Jesus' ministry was, as he said, not for the healthy, but for the sick. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. And to be 100% clear, insofar as I can tell, there is no parish anywhere in the world that is not chock full of sinners. As they say, it takes one to know one, and I'm one of those sinner people myself. And I mentioned baggage, I've got a wagon load behind me. And the concept of membership in a parish is more than a tad awkward. We are Catholic Christians and we gather together typically in a parish, but there's no membership card that I've ever received. There's no dues really, but you know what I mean. Membership is not an apt word to describe how we are in a parish community. But with those caveats said, let's proceed. In this video and in a previous one, I've been thinking about the way of evangelization that it's described as one of two models. I used the phrase radical hospitality, which is a way that emphasizes belonging first, that allows the newcomer to enter into relationships where what the community believes can be laid out and invite the newcomer into sharing those beliefs. And the last turn of this process is converting those beliefs into concrete consequences and changes in one's life. That is, the newcomer, radically welcomed without preconditions, moves from the welcome to believing to behaving in a way that is consistent with what is believed. For example, if following a welcome and belonging, the belief is rightly adopted that each human is a uniquely beloved child of God, the former newcomer's life will change so as to do things that will support and advance the dignity of all people, even those who are unknown or unrelated to the new believer. It can be that the way the newcomer was living, say he was engaged in some occupation destructive of human dignity, he's the drug dealer, as I said, to take an extreme example. Well, he's moved from belonging to believing, to behaving if he abandons that way of life. But how do we companion the newcomer on his journey? How do we avoid all manipulation in encountering the newcomer, but silently seek to change this person into a model Christian? Well, isn't it rather presumptuous and arrogant for us to think that we can or ought to do this? A few thoughts here. Maybe these will help clarify things. First, honesty with the newcomer surely has to be essential. If we're talking about relationship, well, that means honesty and integrity. There can be no secret agenda of cajoling someone into a new way of thinking or being or doing. But equally, there can be no downplaying or obfuscating or avoiding what the church teaches because it is somehow inconvenient. That wouldn't be honest either. That wouldn't be teaching the fullness of what the church teaches. And we would teach not only what, but also why the church teaches as she does. Second, if I don't have my own relationship with Jesus, if I myself am not reliant on the grace of God, what I have to offer is minimal. And to take certain verbal liberties with the late Pope Benedict's encyclical Deus Caritas Est, the faith is not a matter of a head trip. It's not a matter about knowing stuff. The faith is about an encounter with Jesus. The faith is about being changed because of that encounter. If I don't get that, it's not clear what I have to teach the newcomer. Third, the process of accompaniment, establishing a human-to-human relationship, provides an opportunity to the community to share the fullness of the message of the gospel with the newcomer. The newcomer is here in our midst. Will we, as Jesus did, reach out and offer a deeper life, a life that rises out of the faith? Is conversion our invitation to the newcomer? And fourth, the process of welcoming the newcomer is never about me trying to remake someone in my own image. It's never about me doing much of anything, really. The work of conversion is God's work. It ain't mine. Fifth, companioning is a challenge that confronts the regulars, if you will, to see how our own lives are guided by the beliefs that we hold dear. To be honest, I have to ask myself, is my life premised upon those beliefs a real-time living out of my faith? If I am preaching conversion to the newcomer, what about my own? Or am I a Pharisee who relies only upon external actions, my good behavior for all the world to see that demonstrates my worth? If my good behavior only justifies my value and doesn't rise out of my relationship with God, well, I've missed the point. Belonging, believing, and behaving, it's all one package. We need all three. A final note and a response to the question raised earlier about the suspicion that might arise in some that the parishes will set the bar too low, that we've given away the store, that we haven't asked the newcomer to a deeper relationship with the Lord, that we haven't excluded somebody who's publicly a sinner. Or to be extreme, how do the church regulars understand a parish's welcome to the drug-addicted, twice divorced and remarried single mother who advocates for pro-choice political candidates because they're pro-choice? I mean, pile your questions about someone's conduct on top of each other. What is to be done with all that suspicion that the faith is being watered down because this person is now somehow welcome in the life of the parish? One idea would be to invite all in the parish to be cognizant that befriending someone doesn't mean that we agree with everything or anything the person does. Nor does welcoming mean that the teachings of the church are indifferent to how we live our lives. Indeed, it might be that the suspicion can be countered with a challenge to the parish to rise to the occasion and be self-aware that reaching out is precisely what Jesus did. Yes, he did tell the woman caught in adultery to sin no more, but he also rescued her from some of the consequences of her own sin. We might spend some time meditating on St. John Paul's distinction between the law of gradualness and the gradualness of the law. That is, if we are indeed the mature disciples of Jesus, we will know, we will be sufficiently self-aware that our own relationship with the Lord did not spring full-blown at a particular given moment in time. Rather, if we are self-aware, we will recollect that our deepening love of the Lord rose out of something gradually as we permitted ourselves to undergo this transformation. There is a law of gradualness. The law is always calling us deeper. It's not that the law didn't bind us. It's not that the law only gradually applies. No, it is the case that our own brokenness precluded us from as rich a life in the Lord as we now enjoy. The call to the parish is to celebrate our own joyful walk and to encourage that newcomer to come to see how surrender to the Lord is the path of freedom and fullness of life. It's not a matter for suspicion that someone is trying to accept the Lord. It is a matter for us, secure perhaps in our own faith, to pray along with the letter I love, the first letter of John. We pray that our own joy might be complete when we share fellowship in the Lord with the newcomer. What could be better than that? To meet another person at soul level, to increase one's own faith, and share that gift of Jesus with another human being. It doesn't get any better than this. God bless you. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.